Hi, how many of you, I've been here a number of times, have any of you been here when I've spoken before? No. We've got one person. Okay. Two people. Okay, fine. Well, first of all, I'm very glad to be back. As Dr. Romanowska said, I'm the Associate Rector of WIUU. And I'm particularly pleased to be here at this time because you and I'm getting to be a part of a very auspicious occasion. WIUU is celebrating its 20th anniversary. And this is really important. It coincides the 26 years of Ukraine's independence as a nation, and you are the first flowering of the whole future of Ukraine. It's your future and it's the nation's future. And part of what you're studying here is not just business and getting a job, but it's also understanding the kind of individual that you will become and how you will have a full life, a happy life. You'll be able to contribute to the nation. And that's really important because you are the future. And if you can't start to see that now, you'll find that you will become the kind of individual, you need to become the kind of individual that becomes involved at all levels, socially, politically, and by the politics I don't mean, by politics I don't mean necessarily going forth and becoming a politician. I mean being aware of what it means to be Ukrainian. So, to that end, you're going to be having a very special program called the American Studies. Now, American Studies is to help give you a broader understanding, not just about America, but why and where and how things happen. Because you'll learn about some things like history, you'll learn things about how history impacts upon decision making, you'll learn about the culture. And I'm going to actually I did some notes last night because, well, we just got in and it's really hard sometimes to do a presentation when you're a little bit of jet lagged. So if you'll bear with me, I am going to use some notes. As I said, you're going to be participating in the first of the American Studies programs to be really offered in Ukraine. It has been offered off and on at Mohila, but not consistently. And yours is going to be very intense. And by intense, I mean it's going to help to give you a much broader understanding about not just America today, but historically, and how it relates to everything that you're doing. Excuse me. You're going to have an opportunity to better understand business and globalization because you've had American Studies. Obviously, you can't be in business and not understand about the role of business globally. And you can't be in business and understand globalization if you can't understand the roles of other countries. And America is an economic powerhouse. And that's why it's really important to have American Studies understand the cultural drives that encompass and push America's decisions, people's decisions, and even contradictions about why things happen and why things don't happen. So sometimes American Studies programs are called American Civilization. And really, it's an interdisciplinary area of study that examines American history, society, and culture. It traditionally incorporates the study of history, literature, and critical theory, but it also welcomes research methods and a variety of other disciplines. Now, what does all that mean? Research and disciplines? Well, it's really hard to understand anything if you don't look at how it connects to other things. It's very important to look at the connections. And connections are also part of business. You don't do business in an isolated way. You do business by engaging with others, and that's connections. So we're talking about similar language, similar application, but it's also applicable to a study of American studies as it is to business. Just when did anybody really start to talk about American studies? I mean, it isn't just now, but it hasn't always been. Actually, it's relatively recent. American studies, which focus on how America has responded, at times uniquely, to everything, business, arts, communications, history, and so on, really was started about the time of the late 1920s. It was Vernon, I'm going to read this because this is better to be read. Vernon Lewis Harrington is often cited as the founder of American Studies for his 3-volume Main Currents in American Thought. His volumes combine the methodologies of literary criticism and historical research. And it won a 1928 Pulitzer Prize. I'm going to stop there. Has anyone heard of the Pulitzer Prize? All right, now this is really significant. You might want to make a note, Google it later, not now. Pulitzer Prize are awards very prestigious in literature and news and all other forms of communications. And it was, I believe it's Joseph, but I can't swear to that, but his last name was Pulitzer, and it was started in the early 20th century, and we have it today. And to receive a Pulitzer Prize is like getting a Nobel Prize, except in literature. Okay? Lots of people. Pulitzer Prize. News photography gets news photographers gets Pulitzer Prizes. These are information and images that change the way people think and act. So do Google that. So he won a 1928 Pulitzer Prize, and in the introduction of Main Currents in American Thought, Harrington described his field as, quote, "I have undertaken to give some account of the genesis and development in American letters of certain germinal ideas that have come to be reckoned traditionally American, how they came into being here, how they were opposed, and what influence they have exerted in determining the form and scope of our characteristic ideals and institutions. In pursuing such a task," and this is the core of his statement, "I have chosen to follow the broad path of our political, economic, and social development rather than the narrower beltristic path." Now, beltristic was something I had to look up because I had never heard the term before. It's spelled B-E-L-L-E-T-R-I-S-T-I-C, beltristic. And it means aesthetic value rather than content. So in other words, he was setting aside what people had always spoke about as aesthetic, and he was looking to the content of political, economic, and social. And that's what is the core of American studies even today. It's expanded, it's magnified. People will study American studies exclusively. There are degrees in American studies in universities. But the whole purpose of having an American studies course, or even pursuing a degree in it, is to further understand the content of these driving forces, the driving forces of political, economic, and social. So the broad path that Harrington describes has formed a scholastic course of study, which has developed into varied presentations of American studies programs that are offered in the U.S. and abroad. Now, this all sounds rather boring to some people. And I must admit, if I had heard this, if I was in your seat, and I was hearing it for the first time when I was a student, I was going to say, gee, well, why is that going to be any interesting to me? Well, basically, it can cover anything under the sun about what the American society, which is a driving force, for good or bad. It's not a matter of, it's just good, but it's a force, and it has effect. And it has effect on everything. And so it has, you can have literally everything under the sun can be discussed within an American Studies program. And not just discussed, but then when you find something of interest, be it whether it relates to your studies in business, or you may find it in an aspect of it that you're personally interested in, that you could see could be coupled with your business studies here. So let's say, how many of you like the cinema, movies? There's only a, come on, I need to see hands. Okay. There's only 5 or 6 of you that go to the movies? Please. I don't believe that. Do you like the movie? What? No. Yeah, but if it's on the internet, it's still, somebody had to make it. Even a YouTube they had to make. Okay? Do you like presentation, whether it's cinema in the theater, or it's the cinema that is being streamed on the laptops, on your, okay. It's really hard to watch Blade Runner on your app, you know. That's not the way you see Blade Runner, sorry guys. Anyway, if you like cinema, and you're in business, and you decide to go into business dealing with the entertainment media, it would be beneficial to really understand American studies because of the cultural aspects that go on, the social dynamics that are spoken about within American studies will expand your understanding of what drives entertainment industry, reality TV, theater, cinema, whole host of things. You really can't do business without understanding it, and that's where you will start to understand it in your American Studies program. And this whole aspect, as I said, really pushes the point. It pushes the point of what you'll be doing here at WIUU, both in business, economics, marketing, global engagements, globalization, the cultural dynamics that are the undercurrent or the force that pushes these issues. And ultimately, communications, because communications is the binding thread throughout business. You have business communications, you have strategic communications, you have the production of information about products, about business, about everything. So every single thing is connected, almost like beads on a thread. Now, who's going to be presenting this to you? You're going to have a variety of people. Obviously, you're going to have your basic, you're going to have your core faculty. Your core faculty, the academicians, they will be discussing and bringing to it their expertise in culture, civil society, history, government, science, and technology. These are people that are professors that deal with these topics. But you're also going to have business professionals, invited guests from Ukraine and from the US, depending on availability of individuals coming here. The UM School is going to try to take advantage of US business leaders to come and speak occasionally. They will be part of the America Studies program, coupling with whatever topics that they're dealing with that's relevant to your education. So it's all being tied together. Then you're also going to have possibly government leaders. There are people within the government that can share insights about their experiences, and those they might come and share them with you. And then, while this is very much a real potential, but it also has to do with availability, there could be writers. Remember I talked about the Pulitzer? There could be writers, there could be musicians, there could be actors, there could be photographers. In other words, people that actually produce based on their cultural relationships and how, again, that becomes the driver for the information. So you're really going to have a lot of opportunities. You're going to get to hear a lot of different things. And the nice part is, it's not going to be textbook. It's going to be now. It'll be now with an understanding of how now got here. So it's not a history class per se. Nobody's going to be standing around and asking you what date was some battle fought. That's not what it's about. Unless, of course, the battle somehow had to do with business. So, a little factoid. Can you guess who was the largest whiskey producer in the United States at the time of the American Revolution? Anybody? Just take a wild guess. Huh? The largest whiskey producer in the United States at the time of the American Revolution.
Is it Johnny Walker?
Pardon?
Johnny Walker?
No. Johnny Walker wasn't around. Okay, but it was a good guess. Okay. General George Washington. Okay, and then he became president. So, Washington was the largest producer of whiskey in the United States. He has a distillery, and if you get to Washington, D.C., you should go to see Mount Vernon, which is his home on the Potomac, and which was acres of land and everything, and down the road, you can still go to it, and you can still buy whiskey made there. He was the largest producer of whiskey. Now that's business. That's history. And it's interesting. Is it relevant to you? Yes, actually. Because it helps to know where and how business relates to development. The American Revolution was fought basically over business. It was, as they said, taxation without representation. In other words, the business people in the before it was the United States, was the British colonies, they would produce the raw product and send it to England, and then it was sent back, and they were being taxed on the raw product that was now processed. They were not allowed to process it in the States, or what is now the States, in the colonies. So it's a little more elaborate than that, but basically that's the center or the nexus of what drove the American Revolution. There were a lot of people that were just happy with being part of being a colony. In fact, even some of the people who were business, they didn't really want to separate. They just didn't. They wanted to have representation, and they didn't want to be taxed without representation. And one thing led to another, and there you have it. You had the American Revolution, you ended up having the nation formed, and everybody was off to the races, as we say, off and running. So you're going to find that this widens. I don't think this is working. So you're going to find that this widens your experience. You're going to find that you can really benefit from this. You can take information and start to reflect, how does this fit in with what I'm doing? And look for little bits and pieces of knowledge, because everything gets woven together in the end. It's not a matter of things staying and standing alone. It's about a combination. And the more you know as an individual, the more successful you will be. Knowledge is power. And you should try to get as much information as you can, because that will help you become more successful. So, how many of you had heard about American Studies before? Have any of you ever heard about it before coming here and being told, hey, WIUU is going to have an American Studies program? Anybody? Have any of you ever heard about it? One of you, you've heard about it. Okay, so we've got one person who came in and missed all the preliminaries, but you have heard about it. Because now we're at the end, and I don't know. The situation is, you are in a unique situation. You are in a unique situation. That is the situation. You are in an American Studies program at WIUU, which is a accredited, independent accredited institution, which is European accredited and then accredited through FIBA and CARE in the United States. So you have the benefit of a UK, European, and American accredited degree. You are getting an education, and which includes American Studies. Like other major universities, both people in the United States studying their own country in relationship to whatever degrees that they're pursuing. And other universities in Europe. I do believe you're the only university, WIUU is the only university that is offering American Studies program now. There may be courses at Mohilia, but they don't, to my knowledge, they don't have a core American Studies program. Check it out. I tried to I couldn't get a definitive answer, and usually when you can't get a definitive answer, it means it doesn't exist. But that's my experience. So, how many of you know, aside from what I've just told you, did any of you have any idea about what an American Studies program would be before coming here? Okay. Well, I've just gone through a rather lengthy presentation on what you can expect, what it does, why it does it, what's available to you. And I would hope that you might have some questions at this point. And the reason I'm going to ask you some questions now is because asking questions, discussion in the American Studies program will be important. You can't just sort of sit there. You have to engage with it. And engage means even asking a question. If you don't know something, you might say, well, why is that important? That's a perfectly valid question. You might say, well, if something's presented about economics and culture, why does that happen? So it's going to be really important for you to ask questions in your course. Because if you don't ask the question, you can't start the discussion. It's not meant to be a one-way flow. It has to be back and forth. And indeed, to be honest with you, that also is very American. Americans, for better or for worse, it's not a matter if it's good or bad, Americans like to discuss things. They like to engage with the topic. So, with that, who has a question about American Studies? What do you want to get? What do you individually want to get out of it? Or what do you think you might want to get out of it? Do I have anyone who would like to ask me that? Oh, come on, guys. You're all adults, okay? You can't sit there like grade school children. So, I'm going to ask you then individually. And I'll pick on somebody. So, that's more dangerous. You never know who I'm going to pick on. I'd like to know what your interest in being at WIUU is. And why you think, or what you think you could learn from an American Studies program. And so, let's see. I think I'm going to ask the young woman here with the top knot who's texting, right next to the gentleman with the hoodie. You. Yes. No, I'm speaking to you. Yes. I'm asking you the question. Why are you here? No. The lady in front who was texting.
Me?
Yes.
I'm here.
You know, huh? Why are you here?
I'm here because I want to listen to you because it's very interesting for me.
But you were texting.
No.
You weren't texting. Well, you were reading. Okay. Okay. So, young lady with the glasses, why are you here? Yes. Pardon me? Why are you here? Why are you at WIUU?
Because it's very interesting for me.
Why is it interesting for you? If I'm sounding like I'm putting you on the spot, does anyone know what that means? Putting you on the spot. I am. I am absolutely doing that. Because you are here for an education. You are here to expand your knowledge base. You are here to try to get information and then use information. And if you aren't going to be, as we say, proactive, engaged, and doing it, you're not going to get much out of it. You're wasting your time. Yes, go ahead.
Well, as you already mentioned, I guess I'm here to get more knowledge on the international level and to listen to the people who, to the foreigners actually, who come here to, in order to pay us some respect and to lecture us. I'm here to gain knowledge.
Okay, all right. Now you missed the whole thing, and that's okay. It happens. Okay, I know the train was slow. So anyway,
I guess I had a dream since I was a teenager to study in an American institution, and of course Berkeley City College, at least is my dream. And I suppose I really miss this atmosphere of getting the education, not like I see in our universities usually, like our Ukrainian accredited universities. They're usually boring, useless.
could you speak up? I'm not trying to put you on somebody. I don't think they can hear you in the back, and they'll, so.
No, just with at least with the BBA program, I guess I get more focused knowledge, like focused on specific topics that I don't have to just spread on subjects that I don't need. So I can combine also work with studies, that I can combine the discussion in the class with studies, and I just suppose the more centralized this education is, the more attention you get specifically as a student. I really miss the U.S. education vibe. It's not like it's completely perfect, but I love it.
Where had you gone to school in the U.S.?
I studied online for high school, and then
Okay.
I visited Berkeley for more than 2 months, approximately, campus. So
Yeah.
I stayed there to see how can I study at the city college, because that's where I want to be. But the documents are still in processing, so I'm waiting.
Okay. Well, going to school here should help with that, because it's accredited through FIBA, through CARE in the U.S., so it's connected. It's like being sewn together. Okay. I know folks in the back, it's hard to hear, but I'm going to take the guy with the gray sleeves on his jacket, the first one on the end. So why are you here?
To get a degree.
To get a degree? Okay, yeah. Louder, I can't hear you.
To get a diploma and get a job.
To get a diploma, to get a job. What kind of job?
I don't know yet.
You don't know yet. What are your interests? Do you want to sell ice cream on the corner, or do you want to sell Maseratis?
I don't want to sell Maserati.
You don't want to sell Maseratis. Okay. See, I always like Maseratis. Okay, go. What do you want to do with your degree? What do you see yourself doing? 3 years from now, what would you like to be doing?
I don't know, just have a good paying job. For starters. I don't know what job yet. So.
Okay. So this is a good place to start to discover those things. Hopefully you'll hear something at WIUU that'll open up a window and you'll say, wow, I didn't know about that. That's great. I'm really interested. And you'll explore, and you'll do more, and you'll look into things. And the more you explore, the more you do for yourself, the better, because no one else is going to do it for you. Everybody in this room, and I assume you all want to feel you're successful. And you're all here, and there's people in other classrooms in Ukraine, and there's people in other classrooms in other countries, and they're all here. Millions of you. But each of you is different. And you all should be exploring what's going to make you feel happy, successful, being able to do something that you enjoy. And we all don't want to enjoy everything all the time. There's going to be a lot of times when you got to do stuff and you don't really like it, but you do it because it leads to other things that you will enjoy. And hopefully here at WIUU, that's going to be your experience. You're going to learn things, you're going to get knowledge base, you're going to get even skills, you're going to get exposure to information that is going to be useful, and you're going to be able to build upon it. One last question. Ukraine is this isn't a question. First I'm going to present it as a statement. Ukraine is in a very unique situation in this world. Obviously, Russia invaded Ukraine. Obviously, there's been problems. Obviously, there's a war going on in the east. Obviously, this affects Ukraine's economic situation. It affects how people perceive what's happening, whether the information you're hearing is truth or not. All of these things are going to affect you individually. It's going to affect you as the individual. It's going to affect you as a member of your family, as a member of your community, as a member of the nation. When you have to make decisions, you have to find that it's up to you to look for the information. There's a lot of information out there. And you can't just take the first piece of information that comes along. You have to look for a broad spectrum of information. And you have to start to think about, how does this connect? I use the word connect in the first few minutes of this presentation. Connections are what human beings are about. We connect with each other. We connect with our family. We connect with the community at large. We connect with the world at large. And Ukraine presents a unique situation in the world. Not just about what's happening here, but the role and position of the nation. Ukraine is literally part of Europe, the largest landmass country in what is considered Europe, and at the same time, one could say it's the back door to Europe. By back door, I mean it is the area which looks to the west, from looking from Ukraine, the first thing into Europe. So the stability and growth and economic stability of Ukraine is not just important to Ukraine as a nation, but it is important to Europe. Because if Ukraine is not economically stable, then Ukraine creates a problem for Europe. Now, I'm not saying that Ukraine is intent upon creating a problem. That's not what's happening. But outside forces, in this case Russia, is determined to keep Ukraine destabilized economically, socially, politically. And when you have disinformation and you have population does not know who to believe, and you have all of those things fuel economic instability, difficulty in getting jobs that all of you want. So being a part of understanding what's happening, not just in a closed sense, but in a bigger dynamic, is extremely important. How many of you would like to see Ukraine as part of the European Union? Only 4 or 5? No, wait a second. No, seriously. Does anyone know what that question was?
Yeah.
Okay. You know what that question was. The European Union provides a link to economic stability in Ukraine. Okay. Anyone else? Why do you think, as people, you're planning on going into some form of business? My God, you're in a business school, guys. Why would you see being a part of the European Union important?
Oh, I guess if you look at the policies for maybe factories, or at least I think ecology will improve. I hope.
Pardon?
Ecology.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess that would be the improvement. I'm not sure how. I mean, we can't really manage on our own. That's something we see, but joining the European Union might cause a lot of issues at the same time, as with the benefits that will come. So I'm not sure how will that work if it happens, but I guess this is positive, at least because you feel more confident, at least the confidence that people get. This is something that I really enjoy in the US. Even if for some people it's an illusion that you get this dream, they still work hard to get this dream of theirs come true. And that's the part which I don't really see in our country, or many countries, the confidence that's put into people so that they can actually start to ask questions, gain the problem-solving skills, yeah, I guess that might be improved if we join the European Union.
No, I understand. Good point. I like the fact that, okay, one of your classmates talked to the point about confidence. It's really, really hard to do anything in this world if you're not confident. If you think, oh, I don't know, I really don't know what I'm doing, maybe it'll work out, should I do it? And then if you're not secure, if you don't have confidence, and confidence comes from yourself. Sometimes you think, well, how can I be confident if it's supposed to comes from me, but I'm not confident. That's where you reach out for information. Because when you have a doubt, when you have questions, if you do not look for answers, and it doesn't mean you're going to get the answers in a nice, neat little package. Life is messy. Life doesn't come in neat little packages. You have questions, you look for answers, you look for information. Sometimes you even look at things that appear to be opposite of what you're interested in, because you might discover something in there that you can use. And so it builds your own personal confidence. In building your personal confidence, you start to be able to do things better. Being a part of the EU is not just like, oh, well, we are abandoning our control. No, it's like anything else. Anytime you're part of a group, then you can have discussion. And then you get strength in the group. And the group never agrees. If all of you had to agree on something in this room, it would take a while for you all to come to some agreement. Again, that's the way humans are. Nobody expects everybody to just do things in an automated way. It's good to have disagreement. It's good to have discussion. It's even good to have a level of argument about something, because hopefully you're going to hear something that someone says, and you might say, you know, I never thought of it that way. Or they hear something you say, and they say, you know, I really never thought of it that way. And that's why communication is so important to your decision making, to how you're going to do things, how you're going to participate in your life, how you're going to build the economy, and so on and so on. Before we go, or rather before Dr. Birner takes over, does anyone have any question? I've had to pick on people. And then I stopped teaching after about 15 years, and I went into foreign affairs. But one of the things I discovered, and I never thought of it before because I was working professionally in communications before I went into teaching. And one of the things I discovered, and this is the hint for everybody, students have a tendency to self-select their positions in the room, their seating positions. Students, which is reflective also of how they sort of self-select their positions probably in life. Usually, the students that are in the first two rows are the most engaged in what they're doing. The students in the middle are sort of drift in and out. And the folks in the back in the last two rows are usually the ones that are not paying any attention at all. It never fails. Other professors used to tell me this too. The ones in the first two rows usually were the A, B+ students. The ones in the middle were sort of B's, a little bit through there. The ones in the back, C's, minus, quit the classes. I'm telling you this because it doesn't make any difference to me because I'm not going to be here, but it should make a difference to you. Perceptions are reality, often, and even if you want to be perceived as being engaged, you can sort of act engaged. And sometimes that's beneficial because then all of a sudden you do become engaged. So with that, I hope you enjoy your American Studies program. I think you will find a lot of interesting things on all sorts of topics, and the more you investigate, the more you will get out of it. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you.